Alright guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be reacting to Jeff Nippards' recent video on how to look like you're on steroids. Now, there's a lot of controversy around this video of Jeff Nippard about some of the people that he put in this video. Just the fact that he's sort of vouching for these guys when he doesn't really know too much about them. Some of them look like they have beyond any sort of natural look. One of these guys especially is just almost unfathomable to think that Jeff Nippard would say this guy's natural. He's actually made a few TikToks saying like he genuinely thinks every single person in this video is natural. Just for a little bit of insight about me though, I have been training for 6+ years. Completely lifetime natural. I have a pretty good idea of what I think is achievable with good genetics and also what I think is achievable with good steroids. So I have a pretty good roid radar. I think Jeff Nippards more informed than I am, and it's surprising for him to stand behind these guys, honestly. Like, they could so easily be taking things that, or maybe even taken things previously and now they might be natural. And I know in this video, Jeff Nippards did a surprise blood test on these guys, but I don't think it was a surprise. You'd be genuinely shocked at being enhanced just for like a year or 2 years, how much more muscle maturity you can build in such a short time as well. So we're going to be going through and reviewing this video. Yeah, without any further ado, let's just get started, all right?
Is it possible to look like you're on steroids without ever actually taking steroids? I think it is, but a lot of people find that hard to believe.
Vast majority of people are...
It is possible to look like you're on steroids and be called, numerous people get called out being on natty, but some people genuinely are on stuff, you know? And it's crazy how in recent times now, like, so many people have come to light as like just having amazing genetics, like claiming lifetime natural, and they just have amazing genetics, 1 in 1 gazillion genetics. It's pretty hilarious.
There's no way this guy is natural.
You just won't be able to convince me there's a single chance he achieved this naturally.
So I put it to the test, and I showed this group of guys who swear they're on...
So obviously on everyone's radar is that 19-year-old guy that did a video with Larry Wheels. So obviously that is the guy that has probably the most amount of suspicion in this video. So
to random strangers and ask them one question: who's natty and who's not?
Him.
You think he's on steroids?
So one thing I don't like about this video is that he got literal random, completely uneducated gym goers. If he was to get some people that are just somewhat knowledgeable about the fitness industry and have a pretty good roid radar, obviously the appearance of getting someone who's completely uninvolved with the fitness industry, because they're just going to say like, oh yeah, everyone just looks unnatural, you know what I mean? So that's one thing I don't really like about this.
Okay.
Oh yeah, like that's just insane.
It's pretty big.
It gets a little suspicious, you know. It's a little too much.
I think he takes steroids.
That guy is the only guy who sort of seems like he knows somewhat of what just looks basically impossible to what could be naturally achievable with amazing genetics, right?
Him?
Yeah.
Okay, you stay forward.
100% I would say natural.
No, they've just been getting roasted the whole time. So
Yeah, so sorry about that. Yeah.
Based on their answers, I was able to pinpoint exactly which body features people look at when they're suspecting steroids. And in this video, I'll show you how to build up those features 100% naturally. By the end, you'll know exactly how to look enhanced without ever touching a needle.
I would have preferred a lot if Jeff Nippards put Lex Little in this video instead of Hussein. Like, Lex Little is, I genuinely believe, is 100% natural. Really strong dude as well. He's got really good strength genetics, really good genetics overall. So I would have much preferred to see him in the video instead of someone like Hussein, who's like got a bit of a weird background towards his natural status. Like, he could be natural, but Lex Little has no suspicion, I believe, of his natural status though.
As for our 8 test subjects, I totally understand the skepticism when you just look at them, especially a few in particular. That's why I'm secretly bringing in a medical doctor who's gonna blood test every single person later in the video. And I'll say this, there's definitely one curveball in those testosterone results. First, let's break down what people think a natural physique actually looks like. On the right is the definitely natty zone. Basically, everyone I interviewed thought this look was achievable naturally with some basic training. A few people pointed to subject number 5's quads as being a little suspicious, but I got in a leg workout with him, and I definitely think he earned those quads.
Yeah, I don't know. Jeff, it doesn't look too credible when you're saying, oh, I got to work out in with someone and he seems like he's natural. That is not a good way to try and tell if someone's on anything. People like Hussein, like, he's had a bit of gyno, which is a little bit suspicious, but he's verified that he had that when he was younger, so maybe that is justifiable. But like, the whole fact with Hussein, everything that sits wrong with me is the fact that he's associated with Greg Doucette and like really promotes his supplements and things like that, and also promotes really bad fitness products like the AI calorie thing and just all that stuff, all that overwhelming unauthenticity with Hussein just doesn't sit too great with me. And also the fact that he did a bodybuilding show, said that he was tested but he actually wasn't, that also doesn't sit properly. But in terms of this guy, yeah, he could very well be natural. I think he's just got Asian genes, so he's obviously just got huge legs.
And those quads naturally. On the left side is the questionable zone. Most people thought these guys were probably taking something, even after.
So Julian, I'm going to go through this later on. This guy is the most suspicious dude, just because of his age as well. I'm curious to know when he started lifting.
When did you start training? I started training when I was around like 14 and a half, 15, so I've been training for around 3 to 4 years.
I believe he's 19 years old. To put on that much size in such a short amount of years is incredibly suspicious. And he's a lot bigger than Hussein, and he's already being questionable about physique that he's attained in the period of time that he's been working out.
After I told them they swear they're 100% natty, some people still had their doubts.
So what if I told you all of these people are actually natural?
You should have said, crazy. Why don't I tell you all these people claim natural, not are natural? You don't know that for a fact, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna start working out too.
Do you believe me? It gets a little suspicious, you know. It's a little too much. I'd have to say no. Yeah, I have to say no. Fair, legit. Are you in my YouTube comments?
Out of curiosity, I asked.
I don't know why he's rinsing that dude. Like, how is it so crazy to think that these guys could easily be lying?
Where they'd insert me into the lineup, and some of their answers were a little surprising.
At the end.
At the end? I gotta put you at 2. Right here? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Not here? Yeah, I can put you at 1. I can put you at 1.
Maybe he's putting him so high because he knows that Jeff Nippards are natural, so he's like, oh, he needs a bit more credibility to his name rather than these guys who are just like insanely suspicious and just come out of the blue saying they're natural and just got crazy genetics.
But if you cancel out the person who put me in the most jack spot, definitely a fan, and my biggest hater of all time, Madeline, who put me in the least jacked spot, on average, most people put me in the middle, right between the definitely natty zone and the questionable zone. Several people pointed to my shoulders as my enhanced feature. And in my experience, that usually is the first thing that people look for when they're judging whether or not someone's enhanced. Anytime I'm accused of taking steroids.
Pretty facts, built trap, a little bit of an indicator of enhancements. Just because you have those androgenic receptors in your traps and your delts that grow a lot better with taking stuff rather than not taking stuff. So
taking steroids, I always hear that my delts look just a little too 3D. And while I owe a lot of my deltoid development to solid science-based training principles, I probably owe more of it to my mom. Like, just look at her shoulders right now at 60 years old. Lifetime natty. But if you're chasing that naturally enhanced look, building a wide set of delts is absolutely crucial. And the real key is the side delts. I do lateral raises at least twice a week, but when I was early on in my bodybuilding journey, there were
upper lower push pull legs. I like that split. I do upper lower personally, just upper lower, try and get a rest day between the two. But frequency and intensity, that low volume, high frequency training is what's grown me the most.
Actually periods where I do lateral raises at the end of every workout. So if you're struggling to grow them, try training them more often, even 3 to 5 times a week.
Very facts. Trying to grow anything, honestly, a big part is prioritization and just frequency. Frequency has worked an insane amount, especially to grow my delts and just honestly anything. You got to treat your abs the exact same way. You got to treat your carbs the exact same way. You just got to prioritize them like they're any other muscle, because that is what they are. They're a muscle at the end of the day.
For 3D delts, the second naturally enhanced feature that people pointed to was actually the biceps. I was a little surprised at this, but almost every single person pointed out the biceps on the 4 guys in the questionable zone.
Like, the arms are literally as big as my leg.
Yeah, because these guys that you're getting to judge these fitness influencers have just no idea about how enhancements improve a physique. Biceps, like, yeah, it does, but not as much as other features, you know what I mean? So they're gonna say the most conventional body part for building muscle, the biceps. You know, if you got big biceps, you must be on something. Not necessarily. People just have good peaks. peaks, you know? Julian,
That's like, I don't know.
unreal.
Turns out that if you're trying to impress everyday folks, having some big peaked biceps might just be the easiest way to do it. Subject number 4 drew a lot of attention for his biceps peaks, so I wanted to see if he had any secret sauce for building those insane 18-inch arms.
Literally 18, right on the money.
Yes, I was a competitive gymnast.
18-inch arms is not easy to attain, so.
Gymnast. It's up until I was like 14. I got this one photo. I pulled this off my mom's Facebook.
You can even see the like delt development. How old are you there?
Maybe like 12.
So I measured my biceps a while ago. I'd be curious to see what they measure out now recently, but I reckon they'll be 18 inches, but they were 17 and a half probably about 2 years ago. So I do have a pretty good peak though, so that helps. Maybe put on like half an inch. Be curious to know what my bicep measurements are, but I reckon they'll be 18.
Tolga explained to me that he does a lot of preacher curls with forced reps at the
preacher
end.
curls as well.
So once he can't get the weight up on his own, he uses his other hand for assistance. And
Preacher curls work so well. I got really strong at it in like my first 2 years of training, capitalized so much, prioritized preacher curls, and I think it's what's grown my biceps the most. I do about 65 kilos for 6 reps.
and then takes the full weight on the negative. Even though my biceps aren't really a strong point for me, I did manage to grow them over the last year, according to ultrasound measurements, and I owe a lot of those gains to this exercise right here, Bayesian curls.
Do it here.
In that position, right?
Yeah, keep it locked.
For me, it was preacher curls.
Like this. And so you can really emphasize the length and position.
After biceps, the next thing that stood out as an enhanced feature was actually the upper pecs. A few people pointed this out on subject number 2 as his main wow factor, and I'll take a little credit for that. I actually coached Shamar to the all-time Canadian bench press record for his weight class in drug-tested powerlifting. Even though some of the science-based community prefers machines over the bench press, I strongly believe it's one of the best exercises for building a big, sculpted chest.
I think, man, I really
So chest is one of my strong points. Literally all I do for chest. In my earlier years of training, I did incorporate flies, but all I do nowadays, and all I've been doing for about 2 to 3 years, bench and incline press, and that is it. And I think I have a pretty good chest. Obviously genetics helps, but no machines.
don't think it's a coincidence, bro. Like,
Yeah, it's not.
Everyone I see who has a big bench has a big chest.
Has a big chest as well, right?
Now, when it comes to the upper pecs in particular, it is pretty...
I'm pretty strong, like I'm not trying to gas myself up here or anything. I'm just telling you how it is. Best I got to was doing about 160 kg bench for 2 reps, and that was quite easy. Actually, I reckon I could have gone for a third. That was the heaviest I've ever gone. And then my incline bench is quite strong as well. I can do 140 for 1 on incline, maybe 2 nowadays. But what he said is very true. Big bench, big chest.
Clear that an
With
incline bench will
exposed-
grow that area a bit better. So for the best total pec development, make sure you include some kind of incline press or incline fly as well. After the pecs, a lot of people pointed out that everyone in the questionable zone had bigger traps than everyone else. And science does suggest that having massive traps can be an indicator that you're on some special supplements. That's
As I
because
said before, your traps have androgenic receptors that respond to steroids really well. But it's just a questionable factor about if someone's on something, just huge traps.
your upper traps have a higher androgen receptor density than most other muscles. Basically, there are just more testosterone receptors on the muscle cells there. So when you inject testosterone, it tends to have a bigger impact on the trap since there are more receptors to bind to. I never had the best traps personally, but I did manage to bring them up the best my genetics would allow.
I don't do shrugs. All I do is really heavy lateral raises, and I feel like my traps get engaged on the lower part of that. But I have pretty good traps in my opinion. I'll show you a video. But yeah, just super heavy lateral raises. Then I do more isolated lighter weight to sort of hit my delts a bit better.
Wow. Obviously, shrugs are a staple, but a good tip is to use a slightly wider grip and think about shrugging up and in. That way you'll hit the upper trap fibers along their fiber orientation much better. The upper trap fibers actually run a lot more horizontally than many people realize. I also think including some kind of overhead raise is a good idea for the upper traps. So that could be a full ROM lateral raise or an overhead blue raise.
Some serious science-based exercise
On the cables.
Anyway,
And even though it's fallen out of fashion a bit lately, I still do think direct neck training can make a big difference here too.
yeah.
But above all that, in my
I feel
personal
like that's pretty underrated, building up your neck, but who has time to go to the gym and do neck exercise, honestly? But having a big neck looks pretty aesthetic in my
opinion, this next thing is the biggest factor that's actually fully within your control, and it's simply being lean. Assuming you have some muscle base, when you're leaner, you're going to look much more
100%. So I'm pretty lean at the moment. I reckon I'm about 9% body fat. And I've never had people look at me like I was when I was, you know, maybe 12, 13% body fat. When you're lean, you do just look like a freak. And it's very underrated just being really shredded and lean. And I've done my first cut in 5 years. It was pretty crazy to see what sort of muscle I had underneath without any fat. I would say the accusations come in a lot more when you're just quite shredded and you got a good amount of muscle. Good genetics as well makes people really think that you're on something.
As a comparison, this is what I looked like 30 pounds heavier at around 20% body fat, and this is what I look like now, 30 pounds lighter at around 10% body fat. I'm definitely getting more steroid accusations now, despite the fact that I'm actually quite a bit smaller. That's the illusion of bodybuilding.
I think a big part of creating that like enhanced look is just getting leaner.
Yeah, for sure, 100%, especially when you're natty.
If you get leaner and like you get on camera under some decent lighting,
yeah, you look
like
crazy.
You're gonna look way bigger. It's just the way it is.
True.
You're actually smaller, but you look bigger.
When you're leaner, you'll also be more vascular, which is actually
Smaller, but you just
nearly
look
as related to steroids as many people think.
Phil Heath is arguably the best. You could make the case he's the best bodybuilder ever, the most gifted anyway, and he just wasn't a vascular guy. Neither was Jake Cutler.
Unfortunate, a little bit genetics having, but just good vascularity. I'm pretty fortunate in that aspect. This is just like no lighting or whatever, but I've got a good bicep vein that comes down. Sort of vascularity, even like vein placement, I feel like it's not talked about a lot. If you get good veins in your shoulders and then that one vein that comes down your biceps looks so aesthetic. One thing I noticed leaning up is like, I didn't even know about any of that. Like, look, pretty good veins, you know what I mean? One thing I noticed is I have a vein that goes from my neck down my shoulder. When I train shoulders, it really shows. I put a video on this as well. Vein placement can look super aesthetic.
You'll get more roid accusations if you are vascular. People for some reason think it's related. It's mostly just genetic, honestly. It's mostly genetic and low body fat.
Someone like Hussein gets a lot of fake natty accusations online since he has a huge social media following. And yeah, he has a super impressive physique, even in real life, so I get it. But just like me,
like I spoke about before, Hussein, he's on, like, if he had a better past, I'd be more convinced. He's got a good physique, and I do think that he can achieve the physique he has naturally, just with really good muscle belly genetics. His legs aren't insane as well, so like if he was on something, his legs would sort of look a little bit bigger than they do, unless he's on stuff and he doesn't train legs at all. But people like misconceive, they just see his upper body and they're like, oh yeah, he's on shit. But
Ian, pretty much every other fitness influencer, he does understand the power of lighting, posing, and the illusion of bodybuilding.
Yeah, big
Most
fact.
people don't realize just how much of a difference lighting can make in how enhanced you look, especially when you're lean like Hussein. Actually, while shooting this video, I played with 2 different lighting options. This is what everyone looked like with standard diffuse.
Look how much bigger Julian looks than Hussein. It just, like, so unbelievable. He's taller as well. Like, man, he just looks like on another level to Hussein. And you know what the craziest part is? He's 19. Wow. He looks like he's been training for 10 plus years and then claims natural. Like, there was a little bit of a stigma about this certain genetic mutation that people can have, which is this myostatin deficiency. Basically, you can build more muscle if you have less myostatin. But this was all like some fanboy rumors, honestly. I reckon people fanboying this guy just started making up these stupid rumors. I don't think he has this deficiency.
Lighting. Now look at the difference once we switched to more spotlighting. Everyone went from natty to enhanced in a 1-second transformation. Here's another visual. This is what I look like just standing in my kitchen under normal lighting with no posing and being filmed on an iPhone.
And there's a very big difference. That's why you gotta be conscious of social media, guys. You can't be looking at social media and thinking these guys are walking around looking like this 24/7. It is not true.
All I did was run downstairs to my posing room, flicked on a spotlight, hit a most muscular pose, and switch to a Sony a7S III camera. That's a big visual difference with less than 1 minute between shots. I'm only 155 pounds right now, and when you look at me posing on my own, I think I do look massive, but when you put me into the lineup of other guys that are bigger than me, I think it adds a lot of context. Now, right before I show you everyone's blood work, let's talk about Julian. This guy's caught the internet by storm, with the majority of people saying there's simply no way he's natural, especially when you consider he just turned 19 years old.
Like, that should just be an indicator right there, Jeff. But I know he's trying to keep a possibility that this guy could just be some descendant of some genetic freak. But, like, I don't know, man. The possibilities of something like that. 19 years old, that size, standing next to Larry Wheels, having the same sized arms, and Larry Wheels is an absolute blaster of gear. I don't know how you can sort of be convinced of that so easily, and especially by one blood test as well.
It's old.
Does anybody else like following shares?
How old are you? Yeah, 19.
And when he did the blood work too.
You're 19? Okay, yeah.
Right, 19.
Yeah.
No,
I've been training for almost as long as he's been alive.
I'm gonna max this thing out for him.
Doesn't even know where to fit.
Yeah, we're starting to run out of room, but
That's
what's another
an indicator. I've been training for as long as he's been alive, and he's just looks like a different specimen to you.
10, 360. Let's go. We might as well go 365.
But here's the thing. Before you jump to any conclusions, just take a look at this photo. This is Melvin Wells, and this photo was taken in 1949. The first corroborated reports of testosterone use in the lifting
Just crazy genetics.
community were in 1952.
And like, I get the point he's making here. You know, back then they didn't have the knowledge bodybuilding like they do now, and also the enhancements like they do now. This guy still doesn't look as big as Julian, you know what I mean? And he looks older.
An extremely high likelihood those arms are 100% natty. But if you're really tapped in, you may know that Soviet lifters did use testosterone in the late 1940s, so maybe this guy somehow got his hands on it. One person who definitely didn't get his hands on steroids, though, was this gentleman. And we know that because this photo was taken in 1912, 2 decades before injectable testosterone.
I get the point he's trying to make, but Julian looks way crazier than these guys. And obviously what comes with time is knowledge, and bodybuilding is a lot more educational now than it was back then.
Was ever even isolated for the first time. Not gonna lie, those bicep peaks do look a bit familiar. Here's the thing, some people are just jacked. Just like there's a huge range in height potential, there's also a huge range in muscle growth potential. If we see someone who's 7 feet tall, we don't immediately think they're taking growth hormone. But when it comes to muscle mass, people often forget the role of genetics and immediately jump to steroids.
Yeah, but genetics only go so far, man. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to immediately jump at this guy's unnatty card. He's bigger than me, so he must be unnatty. I'm not trying to say that. I will put it out there. There is a possibility, but I don't think you have that guy here, Jeff, I'll be honest. And it's not very good that your credibility only goes as far as doing a gym session with him, and then you're convinced, and one blood test as well, and you're convinced that he's natural. So, well, lifetime natural.
Now, I don't want to undercut any of Julian's hard work and chalk it all up to genetics. The dude trains like an absolute beast. But I do think his answer to this question was revealing.
What do you have for breakfast?
I do eat a lot of like protein and stuff like that. Like same thing everybody else eats. Like I go to Wendy's sometimes, you know what I mean? Nothing crazy.
Here's what I think. Sometimes, when you combine world-class genetics with super hard training, you really can get to a level of muscular development that some people simply aren't going to believe is possible naturally, no matter what you say.
I'm in the gym all the time. Like, it's like somebody's like basically saying, nah, you didn't put in the work, you just stuck a needle in your arm. But
right.
I'm like afraid of needles. I hate needles like so much.
See, that's how you know he's not enhanced, because you said you put it in your arm and you don't inject in your arm. So are you
You're convinced because this guy could easily just be trying to play dumb, Jeff. I don't know, like, every single suspicious natural says they're scared of needles. It's like, you know how easily they could be lying about that shit?
Planning to stay natural, or have you thought about that?
As of right now, I'm just focused on, getting through school.
Yeah.
And I'm also like a big family dude, so I started a family and stuff.
Okay.
And once everything's kind of, set in stone and have everything laid out, then I'll be like, all right, cool, let's shoot for Olympia, you know what I mean?
For real?
Shoot for it.
Holy shit, okay. And despite that sounding authentic, I still want a little more confirmation.
That sounds authentic. The fact that he said he doesn't like needles, he's a family-orientated dude, which is like everyone, that sounds authentic that he's natural.
While they get their blood drawn, I'll tell you what I'm looking for in someone who's natural. Most healthy young men will have testosterone levels between around 200 and 850 nanograms per deciliter. If you're over 1,000, that's a bit suspicious. Over 1,200 is very suspicious, and over 1,500 is basically impossible without steroid use. Pro bodybuilders will sometimes go well above 5,000. I've even heard of people going above 10,000, especially if they're not taking other drugs to suppress their levels. All right, now with that in mind, let's take a look at the blood results.
Surprising thing is, He just has like a normal high range, nothing crazy, so.
For the sake of full transparency, I have to say, there actually was one person who went above the normal range for testosterone. This is the bar graph of everyone's levels, and they ranged from 415 to 689, except for one person who hit 928. Who do you think it was? It was actually subject number 6, Spencer. Everyone else was in the 400s to 600s, but Spencer's levels were substantially higher than everyone else's. So, does that mean he's the fake natty?
Obviously not, man.
To check and see, I went ahead and got his luteinizing hormone and follicle-stimulating hormone levels measured as well, since those hormones tend to drop very low with steroid use. So, if Spencer has high testosterone combined with low LH and low FSH, that would make me do a double take. And as it turns out, his LH and FSH levels were totally normal, right in the middle of the reference range. In fact, the LH and FSH levels were all normal for everyone. And to be clear, I definitely do think Spencer is natty. A 928 testosterone level is a bit high, but it's nothing really out of the ordinary for an active young male in their late teens. Yeah. But more interestingly, and contrary to popular belief, more testosterone didn't correlate with more muscle, at least not within the natural range.
And you don't have to be like some crazy high testosterone producer with your genetics to just have really good muscle shape and look enhanced.
Research actually supports this. Studies show that as long as you're within the normal, healthy range, testosterone doesn't do nearly as much for muscle growth as people seem to think. It isn't until you start injecting testosterone and you get to those super physiological levels that it...
Yeah, pretty true. Like if you're taking low dosages of stuff, you can look like pretty similar to people that aren't taking stuff and they just have medium to high range testosterone levels just because of how they respond to building muscle, how they look, muscle shape, muscle bellies, everything like that.
That it really packs on the size. Now, of course, it's always possible that someone could have used something in the past, but I think the most plausible scientific explanation is that when you combine years of really hard training with dedicated nutrition and the right parents, the results can be super impressive.
I think Jeff could have got into a lot more detail about that. It's so easy for fitness influencers to take things earlier on in their fitness, take moderate dosages of something for a year, and then completely go natural, get their levels into a normal range again, and just claim lifetime natural. That is so easy to do. And Jeff, I wish, with how long this video is, 16 minutes, and he spent probably about 20 seconds talking about, oh, it's possible these guys could have been on something previously. Like, yes, it's very possible, man. Like, it is more plausible than what you're making out it to be. They just have crazy genetics, one in Gregorian genetics, and I think that's a lot less plausible than them just taking low dosages of something earlier on, now being natural. But that's just my 2 cents.
As your own natural potential, you need to dial in your nutrition. I honestly think just getting your body fat down is probably the #1 thing you can do to look as jacked as you possibly can naturally. I'm using MacroFactor to run my own.
Pretty true. So I've had a lot of people say I look a lot more freakier now that I'm a lower body fat, that I look like I'm more enhanced now when I'm just a bit leaner and a little bit smaller than I was when I was a high body fat percentage. Getting lean just makes you look freakier, 100%, especially when you're very vascular. The overall shape of your body really stands out, makes you look like you're in that realm of bodybuilding. All right, and then he just goes on to promote MacroFactor. And anyway, that's pretty much it for Jeff. Now, he's been getting heaps of hate under this video. I really like Jeff Nippards, don't get me wrong. I think his videos are very informative and very high value. It's sad to see him upload something like this, where he's giving such high credibility to people he doesn't really know so much about. I just wish he would have kept it a bit more up in the air whether these guys are actually natural or not. If someone says they hate needles, they're a family-orientated dude, which is everyone, and you have a training session with them, then you do one blood test with them, that is not enough to call someone natural. I'll be honest. Look, overall, it was a good video. It did show some points as to what body parts make you seem like you're enhanced. But we're going to go through some of these comments. So G Johnny goes, disappointed you didn't invite the Liver King, an iconic all-time natty. Should have included Mike O'Hearn too in this video. 7.7k likes. Iron Historian goes, step 1, hop on steroids. Step 2, lie about it. So true. You know why? Because it's a big money grab. These fitness influencers love low dosages of something early on in their training. Then they blow up a bit. They claim natty, hop off whatever they were on, and then make a lot of money off it by promoting promoting a supplement brand, or we've seen that time and time again, haven't we? But, you know, I'm not going to call Hussein unnutty because it is possible, but I don't like that background of Hussein, to be honest. Years of hard training. I'm 19. So true. Julian has not been training for long enough for me to even be close to convinced that he could be natural. If he was 22, 23, I think it'd be a little bit of a different story. But dude, he's 19, man. Like, how can you possibly believe that? 3 years of training cannot put you the same size as Larry Wheels in terms of your arms. So, I don't know. It's pretty unfathomable to me to think that Jeff is just so convinced this guy's natural. How to look like you're on steroids? A, by taking it. This one's funny. I like this. The fake natty starter pack. Number 1, 1 in a million genetics. Number 2, myostatin deficiency. You just lie that you have some sort of weird genetic mutation that's made you be this size. Number 3, I'm in the gym all the time. Number 4, this one supplement that I'm selling. And then the bonus edit. Greg and Derek saw my blood work. Must be natty. Mike O'Hearn never failed a drug test. Does this mean that he's natural? If you never get drug tested, you never really failed a test. So you must be natural. Should have titled this video, How to Lose All Credibility in 16 minutes and 4 seconds. Someone said, don't risk your credibility like that, man. You have 0 reasons to cover for the questionable dudes. It's so facts. Like, you have built up such a big diehard audience and a really good credible audience, Jeff. You have no reason to vouch for these guys. Now, these guys are gonna be, to such a wide audience now, they're gonna be seen as naturals. To uneducated people, they're gonna be like, oh my god, Julian's actually natural. I did want to see a lot more skepticism about that video. It's definitely what it's missing. He could have put a lot more time into the 20 seconds that he said, is it possible they took something previously? I wish he went into a lot more depth as to how plausible that is. Anyway, some of these comments are pretty funny. I do like Jeff's content. For him to make something like this, it hurts, because I really like Jeff. He's a really good content creator. That's my 2 cents. That's it for this video. Make sure you leave a like and also subscribe if you're new to the channel. I'm bringing out my own clothing brand as well. I've been running through a few ideas, but let me know if you'd be someone who would buy this sort of design on clothes. And but yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I super appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.